years ago when I started my first job in politics back in 1998, if you can believe it. You worked under the threat of your boss making a mistake, an error on a travel claim, or a more serious ministerial error. And of course, them losing their job and you losing yours. But not so today. Ministerial responsibility just doesn't seem to mean as much anymore. Just as absent are any rules for public servants or officials who act in ways that cost taxpayers millions or cost some their lives. Ruby Princess, the hotel quarantine failures in Melbourne. As it stands tonight, every MP, every official, all of them still have their jobs, and all of them, of course, on full pay, while tens of thousands of businesses have gone under and millions of Australian workers have lost their jobs. Let's bring in my panel. Social commentator Prue McSween joins me from Sydney. Former Labor Senator Stephen Conroy is in Melbourne. I'll start with you, Stephen. Way back when, ministerial responsibility used to mean something.
Well, that's right. If you look at that period, the first Howard government, I think 6 or 7 ministers and parliamentary secretaries lost their jobs, some of them on really arcane clauses, whereas now it seems to be it doesn't matter what happens, there's always somewhere to deflect the blame. So there's been a fundamental shift in that ministerial accountability paradigm.
Well, it's a shift in Canberra, Stephen, but it's not a shift in the community.
No, I think that's right. People still expect ministers, premiers, prime ministers to be responsible, but certainly people have got used to, the ministers, the prime ministers have got used to being able to deflect. And I think that's part of why the public have lost some confidence in the political system.
Yeah, spot on. Prue, what did you make of the story over the weekend? Well, not story, it's been evidence given by a security guard that they were trained in diversity and inclusion, but not in infection control. These are the guys that were looking after hotel quarantine in Victoria.
Well, I wasn't at all surprised, because this is what seems to qualify people these days. If you want a job as a bureaucrat or in government, or really now it's creeping into, corporate world, you've got to be more focused on gender equity issues and all these other social issues, and bugger having to be the qualifications to do your job. So it's really outrageous, but, it's another example of the ineptitude of the Daniel Andrews government.
Stephen, I want to ask you about this one. It was confirmed today that Special Forces, these are veterans who could well face charges coming out of the war crimes investigation in relation to alleged war crimes in Afghanistan, that they'll now receive taxpayer-funded legal advice if required. And this has all been signed off by the Defence Minister, Linda Reynolds. I have to say, I could not previously, it used to be on an ad hoc basis, but I couldn't believe that we'd even having to have a debate like this. Of course they should get legal support. Ministers get legal support when there's some sort of charge related to their work. Why not our soldiers?
Well, look, on balance, I think I support this. I think the SAS in particular are going to be for a very difficult time when you have to use the phrase war crimes in a sentence alongside Australian troops. Very sad day. But on balance, I think the right decision has been made.
Well, we send them. I think we as taxpayers have to be, find a way to allow them to defend their name if that's what they're doing, if those charges are levied.
On balance, it's the right decision.
Yeah, Prue, it's
I was just going to say, these armchair critics, it's fine for us in the safety of our living rooms to be able to administer our ideas on whether they've done the right or wrong thing. I mean, I just think the whole thing's quite appalling.
I want to ask you, Prue, the whole debate in Victoria at the moment, the City of Yarra, a council relatively close to the CBD, wants to fix some of its parks, improve them, particularly for women to use them at night. There's been some very terrible deaths, women murdered as they've moved around public spaces. Now, on balance, I think that's a terrific idea, and, let's fix things. When you look at the fine print, they're saying that research has found that very bright and overly excessively lit spaces do not necessarily correlate to observations of safety, blah, 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 blah. So they're basically saying we're not going to light dark parks because women need the dark spaces in order to know not to go there. I mean, this is ridiculous, isn't it? Why can't we have well-lit parks for women to feel safe at night?
I don't know where they dig these councillors up from, you know. I mean, of course, women do not go into parks at night, and even sometimes during the day, because they're scared. And of course we need proper lighting, but we need police patrolling them, and we need panic buttons. I mean, it's come to this because there are so many mongrels out there wanting to have their way with you. So, I mean, this council is delusional. What are they talking about? What, they're going to create cocktail lounges or something? It's just absurd. I mean, councils, stick to your blasted garbage, you know, I mean, really, because that's what you're very expert at churning out.
Yeah, Stephen, just a very quick comment. It's almost like victim blaming to me.
Yeah, look, I mean, some of this is very counterintuitive a bit. The Yarra City Council, as you will well know, Peter, is run by a bunch of trots. And it's no surprise to see crazy ideas coming out of it. I mean, let's get the best advice, listen to the police and do what is right, particularly for the women who feel, as Prue said, afraid to go into these areas. We've got to do the right thing.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer to me. Just simple stuff. You're right, Prue. Roads, rubbish, lights in parks, a few of those things from our councils, we'd all be better off. Prue McSween, Stephen Connery, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Peter.